1993, Ida Cole started looking at this place. In 94, it was shuttered in 95, or I'm sorry, 92, 93, 94, reopened in 94. She put in $30 million. If you see those names up there on the wall, the top list there, that's 16 investors who Ida Cole worked with and put together to save this building. Ida Cole walked to a show here, The Violent Femmes, and fell in love with it. Her son and her, she thought it was amazing, and then it was going to get torn down and they were going to build condos. Ida said no. She was a Microsoft millionaire, saved the building, put her money into it, and kept it going. Built an organization around it to keep it operating. She founded a nonprofit called Seattle Landmark Association. That Seattle Landmark Association literally took on as a leasee to run the theater. And she put that together, a group of people, and then kind of let them go. And they started moving. It took a lot of years for it to stand on its own, but once it did, it really got going. But SLA as a group started the idea of what the Paramount had always been. It was a roadhouse. So shows would come and shows would go. But there was a huge change in the industry that was coming. And that was mainly around the Phantom was the biggest change that started happening. So road shows used to be from Broadway touring, which nationally it went afoot to start doing Broadway subscriptions for the subscription base for touring, and that created the money to allow bigger and bigger shows to hit the road and not just be in New York. That was in the 80s, and then by the early 80s, that really kind of took off, and the money started flowing in for bigger and bigger shows, and then you had the Phantom come. Phantom went from being a 5-6 truck show to a 19 truck show. That means you needed a bigger stage, you needed bigger things, you needed bigger space, you need more stuff. Our stage here, the way it wasn't going to work. The theater at that point also was in extreme disrepair. It was brown. You wouldn't be able to see the gold, everything. There had been 20 years of rock shows and smoking in here. Totally turned it into like a brown ashtray. The carpet was forewarned, the seats were ripped up, the wiring was bad, the plumbing was rotting through. So everything that could be wrong with the theater was. And again, back in early 1990s, Ida Cole took $30 million and said, fix this. Amazing jewel. So this is not the normal way the theater looks, right? Chairs, seats in it. This is the flat floor. This is one of those things that I put in. This cost about another $5 million on top of it. This is a really great story with it. And the way that happens first is the floor is split in half right down the center. Each of these rows. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Whatever conversation you want. Yeah. And then we'll also talk about this. But see, each of these rows right here, that's the row where the chair is actually right on. So if this floor comes up, which comes up to stage level, there is a cavern right in here that the entire row lives in underneath the floor. That will ride out onto this track, settle over here, and the lockdown motors will hold it down to the floor. This side comes up, this side goes down, and then the chairs that are stored under there will come on the railing over here. That allows us to literally put the chairs in and out in about, I'd say about 30 man hours, or about 4 hours with the whole group working on it together, right?
How many seats are actually on this main row?
About 1,600.
And so you all get it, right? We're standing on top of the seats that are stored right now.
And this floor is totally adjustable. You can come up to stage level. We'll do that for Lion King. They'll literally spill everything out onto the floor and fill this up to allow those 16 semis to unpack so that we don't have to try and figure out where everything goes and literally keep trucks waiting. We can literally pour it into the building, pour it out. A lot of other stuff happens here, everything from ATG, which happens here, to a fashion show for Nordstrom with a runway coming out, to sit-down dinners. We have Fat Boy Slim on the platform in the dead center with a rave from wall to wall at 00, so it was literally filled up the entire place as a dance space. It's a lot of versatility. It allows us to basically have almost a kind of like arena or convention hall thing. Taste of Seattle started here and was just a small 30 tables in here before it took over the convention center, and now has 400 vendors or 500 vendors. So it allows us to become like an inception point for a lot of things to grow from. It allows us the diversity to be able to put rock shows in here, put raves in here, put fashion shows, whatever we might try to keep our lights on. That diversity, again, is a key to keeping us going. And besides too of the theater, if you like your hands really working and dirty, there's the maintenance side, there's the operations side, and then there's the production side. Our production side is very technically specific. It's about learning technical pieces and learning exactly what you're doing. The operations side is more of a group effort. Hey, we're going to all dig out this 50-foot pit together. You work at it and do it. I'm not saying all the work's horrible like that, but sometimes it is. And sometimes it's amazing, but it is more of a group effort, like ganging up and dealing with stuff. There's a lot of camaraderie to it. And then the maintenance side is also a different side of really specific tools, because repairing a 1928 building requires talent, artistry.
So we do everything. And in theater, we never say no. We always say yes. We do say how much you got. Because theater costs money, right? You know, we have to employ people. We have to make sure that it's done safely. We have to make sure all the rigging is done safely. We have to make sure that everything is done in a way that can support the art. But we never say no, because that is what happens in theaters. Someone says, I want to fly someone across the stage. I'm like, okay. How do we do that? I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's do it safely. Let's do it effectively. Let's do it cost effectively. But it's going to cost some money. How do we have Mary Poppins enter the stage in a grand entrance? Well, the most logical thing is you fly her from right over here. Right? See this tree of lights that are right there? Well, she flew from there to stage. That's how Mary Poppins entered. Right? It's not just, oh, it happens on stage. It happens out there. What a connection to Mason talked about his experience with the pandemic.
Peter, you can't say no. There's only yes. How much you got?
Yeah.
But has there been occasions where you guys had to say no?
No, you always make it happen. I mean, there have been occasions where people have come up with ideas, and we've come up with scenarios of how to do it, and sometimes the time frame doesn't allow us to do it. Right? So it's not a no, it's a, okay, let's figure out what your intent is behind that, and let's figure out a way in which we can accomplish that in the time allotted. Because the other problem in theater is that, especially when you're talking about a roadhouse, when you're talking about a producing house, sometimes you have more time. The Fifth Avenue, when they do their productions, so we are now the landholders of the Fifth Avenue, but they still run their own company. They still are running the musical theater side, and whenever you see concerts there, that'll be interesting. So we're a road show situation. So we have until the ticket says we're going. So sometimes you just have to make do with what you got at that point. And you say, okay, I've only got 2 hours to make this happen. Can we do this instead? It's not saying no. It's saying, what is your intent? Let's do this. We can make that accomplished, right? Last night, one of our spotlights went down 5 minutes before the show. And we needed 4 spots because there's 4 people on stage. So how do we do that? Well, we make the show start, and then we start fixing things during the show to make it happen. And by the end of the first act, which was about an hour long, we had all 4 spots running operable, and no one from the audience knew because our technicians made it work. Started covering the follow spots are good enough that they say, well, there's 3 of us, not 4, on 4 people, we'll open this spot up to cover this person on this scene, while the other 2 are doing other things. And oh, these 2 are a group now, so one spot will grab these, and these 2, and the person that should have been on this person will shift over to this person that doesn't have a light on them, right? So it's not no, it's we're gonna make it happen. But we don't have that luxury like you do in construction. We're like, oh, we'll just push it back a week. Can't be a week. I got people in that seat. And in a week, I got David Byrne. So a week after that, I've got Lion King. And a week after that, I've got, Jerry Seinfeld. And a week after that, I've got, these are all people that have been in this building this year.
Damn.
So
This year.
So, yeah. We get the top and the cream, but we also get to do stuff that's really fun and really innovative and really new. Like that Faust show that I was talking about where you had the 10-foot mirror ball. Like that was one of the best shows I've ever seen on the stage. Only 50 people at a time, because that's all. Here where you have subway grading was new subway grading. It's called subway grading because this is the stuff that goes over the top of subways in New York City. If you're walking down the street, you'll get an air blast from underneath. You're walking over what's called subway grading. You'll see all the new is subway grading, and all the old is C-channel, and for putting pipes on. You then have each of your places for your loft blocks go through a well. Because this theater has been renovated several times, you'll notice that the wells aren't where they originally were. So if you look at the next line set over, normally the well would have been in line with that big groove, but because of having to do some reconstructing of the space, we had to cut out one of the C channels and drop the lift lines there. So all the battens are attached to 7 lift lines. We have a 7 lift line system. And each of them are labeled which lift line we're working on. This is an underhung overhead grid. Okay, so it's overhead. The loft blocks are overhead, but it's underhung because it's underneath the ivy. If you had overhung under feet grid, like the 5th Avenue, it's all these loft blocks are on top of the grid, and then they're at a fleet angle up to the head block all the way to the other side. So if you're ever at the 5th Avenue up on the grid, which I hope some of you someday will be, you have to wade through all these cables because this line is going 40 feet to a head block at an angle. The next line is going 30 feet to the head block at an angle. So it's literally a sea of cable up there. And you have to climb over and under. Here you just have to get through the lift lines and then you're clear and free over your head. So it's kind of nice. Here is a little bit better. It's a better working environment. It's easier to see what's going on. You also don't have a lot of obstructions, so it's a lot safer. You'll notice that there's racks that have all these pipes. On top of those pipes, you'll see that there's a semicircle loop, and there's also a piece of rectangular stock welded to that, and that's to create different levels. Whoever asked, do we use things from different things? Well, we found that if we have to put a pipe to put a motor in a very specific spot, well, some of our areas is higher than others. So that rectangular pipe makes it so it's taller, so therefore it's flatter, so therefore it's safer. Everything that is on the grid is always tied off. You'll notice there's a lot of tie on everything. If we had some pipes, which I think we do upstage right now, we're kind of bare right now because we don't have a lot of motors in the air. They'll always be tied off on both ends, and that's so it doesn't spin. So if you have a load that's across vertical members, across those things, it's really safe because you're pulling down on that. Well, if you spin that, now you're on less things, and actually you could slide through the grate. That's the reason why the half moon is on that pipe, is because if you'll notice, that half moon is bigger than all of our slots other than our wells. So nothing could fall through the grid. That is really heavy. We actually had a situation that happened right after us. Beetlejuice was down at the Schnitzer, no, it was down at the Keller down in Portland, right after it was with us. And a pipe spun and fell through the well. Now you're talking about a 40-pound piece of pipe traveling 68 feet. It's dangerous. It landed on the jump, so it was only 30 feet fall. Hit that, bounced 20 feet on the stage. Landed 1.5 feet from one of my friends. So the stuff that we do up here, you gotta do it right. You gotta do it safely, and you gotta make sure everyone walks away with all their fingers and their lives. Rigging is really important. It's really dangerous. If you do it right, it's not. And that's why we always make sure the best practices are held when you're above people's heads. Even though it seems silly, it seems like, oh, we're just doing this. No, we're gonna do it right. We're gonna take all the precautions. We're gonna do it well. You know, they used to, when riggers used to go up, they used to go up without harnesses. Too many people fell. When you fall from 60 feet, you're not calling an ambulance. So.
I told you guys the story of Jay Laram and his words of wisdom, which was all of the stage accidents that I investigate are because the experienced rigger said, just this once.
Yeah.
So there. I had 2 experiences at Fifth Avenue when I was first starting out. One didn't involve me directly, but somebody dropped a present wrench all the way down through the arbors. That seemed like it took forever before that noise stopped and finally hit the floor. And then I was also standing in the middle of the stage. This was a show that had big swings that were, people swung on these swings, and they'd swing out over the orchestra pit and this sort of stuff. But anyway, while they were setting that, I was standing on the stage and I felt this go past me. And it was the end of a cable that was now swinging from 40, 50, I don't know how many feet it was, I didn't measure, but it was swinging and it went past me like that far. And it was like, my God, this is my early years on the stage, right? It was like, Jesus Christ. So, heads up.
When people are working up here with like tools and stuff, then is there do things have when things have like handle straps and stuff like that to work with?
Yes. So everything, including the boards that I just walked over, have safeties on them.
Oh, I can even see all of those harnesses.
So everything at height, when you're working at height, on a genie, 30 feet, strap it on, right? It's not to protect you, it's to protect other people. So, same thing with these boards right here. If you look down, you'll see there's a cable attached to every single board that you're sitting on, right? So we can pull these boards up. It's a well in between this. It's a big open space. So if you pull that up, now you have a loose piece of lumber up here. I don't want to drop that loose piece of lumber. It doesn't weigh 60 pounds. It still weighs something. It's still going to hurt somebody on the way down. So everything has a safety. We try to make anything that can fall through the grate has a safety. But yes, you should always have it. You know, around your wrist isn't great. It's better if it's attached to you in a different place because you could have to reach around, and sometimes if something happens and you need to grab something, it's better to be able to let it drop and know that it's hot as opposed to it dangling in your way. So at least that's my personal preference. Other people have different personal preferences. It isn't to say that any of those preferences are wrong. It's what's safe and what's right. This is the original wall to the preceding wall. I mean, this is masonry, and you can see all the way through. And that's what it's held up with. We've cored out holes so we can get cables to and from. But everything that we do out here, we try to do it safety. So if you'll notice, any of these spots, like right behind you, where there's gap flex into steel, it's holding up this. It's actually not holding up this. What it's doing is transferring the load. If you look right behind it, there's a rigging point with that little half moon over the top, trying to cut down on any wear and tear that might happen to the gap.
Tell me a little bit about the gas flex.
The gas flex. Well, we used to always use span sets. They're extremely strong, but they're fibers. So it's a sling. It's a round sling. I have an example. Ooh, I have an example of this. Nope. So this is what's called GAC flex. It's a more modern invention. It kind of showed up around 15, 20 years ago in theater, which is more modern. So it's just a round sling. Well, inside that is fibers. It used to be a web sling, and it used to just be fiberglass and Kevlar fibers. Extremely strong. They've gone to now. These aren't one of them. Some of them you can open up. What it is, it's around 20 strands of. You can feel it. It's 20 strands of aircraft cable inside there in just a continuous loop. So what it is this holds up anything. And it can go. It's very malleable with the number of strands is in there. It can go over, and it doesn't have any issues with making sharper bends. The D to D, which is dimension of the semicircle is directly correlates to how much you can lift. The tighter it is, the less you can lift. The more expanded it is, the more you can lift. So it's always, in rigging, you're always looking at the D to D. It's a ratio of the diameter of the circles. So we always use shackles. Whenever we use shackles, we always look for a couple things. We always look to see where it's made. I don't care if it's U.S. or whatnot. I want to see a manufacturer. This is a U.S. shackle with an M. I know exactly what I can find this manufacturer. I know exactly what the working load limit is. It's 4.25 tons. That's what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for how big it is. Those things tell me that it's made by a reputable dealer. Sometimes you'll find shackles that say China or just U.S.
Or just nothing.
Or just nothing. What are they? What do they hold? I can't verify where this came from. I can't say the foundry that it came from. I can't say what its working load limit is. I can't trust it. A shackle, when they make these, this bell is in one pile and this pin is in another pile. Once they make it and you put a load on it, it's now one piece of steel. You can always take it off, but you always leave the pin with this shackle because this pin has seen what this bell has seen. If it's not working, like say it's really sticky and like, oh, this doesn't work, and you take the pin and you use the pin on another bell that the bell was fine, but the pin was bad. Well, now something happened to that bell. So it happened to that pin at the same time. Now the pin is fine. The pin feels fine, but is it fine? And how do you tell? You can't. So whenever you see a shackle that's unpinned and you have, you'll see them in two separate spots, you're dead. Never use them again because you don't know what happened to it. Something happened to some piece of that. Now it could have just been lost. So you're out $20. But I'd rather be out $20 than to have an accident happen. So rigging's always just got to be careful.
Some outfits like Cirque du Soleil, I like to think of them as almost like being like pioneers in that part of the entertainment industry, because if you go to one of their shows and you see anything, you see something that looks like this or like this, it has a tag on it that says when that was made and maybe a barcode. You scan it, it says this was installed on September 19th, 2025, and this is its position. And so you know every single bit of that show that's sitting out there. And nothing is brought in saying, oh, I'll just replace this with something out of my back pockets, or no, not at all. And that's why they are extremely safe operations. They have had their problems and sort of stuff, but for the amount of stuff that they do, that's how they made that happen. I was shocked when I found that out. Like every piece of the 10,000 things that are going on in that show, they know exactly how long that piece has been in there and what it did.
And most rigging.
And when it's going to be scheduled to be replaced. Yeah.
Most rigging equipment also has tags on what it is, and it's interesting because you can look at what the different load limits are. So if it's just like this, just being pulled in two directions, it's worth 5,300 pounds. These are all in pounds. If you choke around something, so you wrap around your arm and then just choke through, it's 4,300 pounds. But if it's in a sling, if it's held like this, it's 16,000 pounds. So you're using the mechanical advantage of the different fibers and the different loops to create
a year in time or like 3 years ahead. I'm just curious, the Paramount's about to reach its 100th birthday soon. What are you guys gonna do?
That's gonna be a crazy year.
It's gonna be really cool.
We are going to try to book as much large acts into this place to celebrate all the diversity in which we do. It will not and it won't just be rock shows. It won't just be Broadway. It's going to be everyone and anything at the top of their field. It's going to be at the Paramount in 2 years. 3 years, I guess. 2 years and 3 months. Because March 1st, 2028, it'll be 100 years. So it's going to be, we are looking into the future for programming, but we're also always looking into the future of what is coming. I knew that at some point Harry Potter was going to come, and I knew that we were going to start having to deal with, they wanted a trap in the floor, and that was a re-engineering, and then they've cut the trap for the tour, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. But yeah, we're always looking into the future. Like, I know Phantom is coming this spring, and I now talking to people, to my contacts in the Broadway world, across all the country, I know that they're starting to require engineering specs for the building. So I need to start that now, so I'm ready for when they show up. When they call me a month out and say, okay, hey, have you got your engineering specs done? So yes, we were always looking ahead. And we were always looking at how we can make the things that we are doing work in the next situation too. Like if we're going to modify something, we're not going to modify something to fix the problem that we're dealing with. We're going to try to think of all the different things that could be useful in the future and make it so it can cover more things, because downtime in theater is hard. So this is actually an odd way in which it's rigged, because it's actually what's called motor up. So most things in theater now is motor down. So this is how traditional chain motors were done at construction sites. You'd have a chain motor on a trolley that moved back and forth, and what would happen is that you'd have, it used to be a steel box that would come off these 2 points, and the chain would go into an oil bath, right? And that's how it kept the chain all greased up, ready to go. Well, this is really heavy. What's not heavy is the hook that's 60 feet down right now, and the chain, because you still have to hold the chain up if you're going to haul this up. So what Donovan and Gridiron and all the pioneers of the modern theatrical rigging decided was, why don't you take the construction motors and flip them upside down, put the hook up and the body down. So all the chain motors that we have permanently installed are motor up. It's harder to do that way. It's heavier, but it's out of the way. It gets the body out of the way. If it's down, it's quicker, it's easier, it's faster. So the hook comes up, would clip into this shackle, and then the motor body would be down by the truss. But then you just land the motor body, and you only have to pick up the chain. And the chain is still 5 pounds per foot, but it's a hell of a lot lighter than the 100-pound body plus 5 pounds per foot. So
this is the cool part about it is that, you know, as it goes along and the chain that it is driven through itself comes out and it just disappears into this bag. So it's not like you have another chain that's just piling up on the floor. No, this one's actually traveling with the motor. So that's out of the way, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it can, and there's limits built into modern motors. There used to not be limits. There used to be physical limits that would just stop the chain from running through the motor. Now there's internal limits, electronic limits that you can set.
Right. And I was telling them that it can actually count the links as it goes through. That's how it knows where it is, right? If you're syncing it up with other motors?
No. There's some automation. Yes. Modern automation motors count the links, and it's a following a time stop. But most of those is it's actually inside, like this motor is these 2 threaded rods that run, and then there's a disc on that threaded rod that has the threads of the rod, and as it spins like a bolt, and a nut would follow it along, and when it hits a pressure plate is when it stops, and that's the limit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the automation motors that can sync themselves to each other have different components. But a standard chain motor has pressure switches. That's all they are. They're little toggle switches. And it just presses up against that, and then it hits a momentary switch that says, "Hey, stop," and then when it goes the other way, it does the other side. And it only moves like that far for 60 feet. The threads are really fine.
Oh, how interesting. Oh. I was driving home the other day. On the street, like 2 blocks away from my house, next to somebody's lawnmower that they put out, was a chain motor. It's like, what?
And now they have battery-operated chain motors. That's the newest thing is that they're doing Milwaukee battery-operated full 1-ton motors. So and then if you look underneath, you'll see a bunch of screw jacks, and it's all mechanical. So with this whole floor system is a mechanical system. When it raises and lowers, it's all on a single screw, but there's 128 of them throughout the auditorium.
Impressive. That system came from
Italy. The company went bankrupt as Ida bought it. So Ida bought it. The factory that it was being built at went bankrupt, and so she sent a bankrupt lawyer over to try to get the stuff, and the bankruptcy court in Italy awarded it to Ida and gave her the company.
Oh, wow.
So as they were picking up the people the foreclosure people just sent them the entire warehouse. Everything that was in the warehouse that wasn't part of the building. So they found shoes and t-shirts and packs of cigarettes and every random bit of garbage that was in the factory too, because she owned it all.
Wow.
And they just shoveled it onto a container ship, and then they rented a warehouse in Seattle, laid it all out to try to figure out how to make it work.
Good job.
Yep. So I say for safety factors, I give it a 2 to 1, and I can put 500 pounds onto this winch. We'll open this window up. We'll take these 2 pieces of window out. Just take them off, put them onto the side. I'll shove this I-beam out the window 6 feet. All the way so that cage touches right here. And then I can pick that 600-pound piece of equipment on the street and haul it up the building. And as long as it fits through this window, I don't have to go upstairs with it. And we use it all the time. But this was my design to make it out the building. And the thing that people told me was like, well, if you want to go 6 feet that way, to bring it in, you got to be able to bring it right here, right? So this little stopper plate can come to right here. But that puts that out the wall. So instead of saying giving up, I said, what happens if instead of doing it straight, we cant it at an angle? So that I-beam, when it goes that way, it goes right underneath it goes right underneath the doorway. So it's got a safety bolt. Makes it so it can't move. But that's this is one of those, like, how do you do it? I don't know. Let's figure it out. I can bolt into the floor here. These are all bolted down. I don't need counterweight. So, yeah.
And lights for show, like this is people bringing in their own lights.
I can give you an example. We actually had a show the other day. Our spotlight went down. Now, we luckily already had them up here.
Oh, you about to pick that shit up?
So this weighs around 150 to 200 pounds. So you gotta carry this upstairs. Remember when I said 6 feet? What's 6 feet? This is 6 feet. That way we can pick this, if this has a problem or an issue or we need to get a new one, we're not carrying it up the stairs. We're bringing it on the gantry, picking it up, sliding it out the window, lowering it down. It's how do we do this better? But yeah, you can try to pick it up and you can.
Is this a Super Trooper?
No,
Troopers?
I thought this was a Gladiator.
It's smaller. All the fans here at all? There's a song called Super Trooper, and it's about a fallen spot.
Yep. So this is one of our spares. This is one of the old ones. Wicked required, not Wicked, Hamilton required us to have a larger. These are the new ones. But you can actually,
How hot is this room?
it gets very hot. You can go ahead and stand up there. And you can feel how, I mean, you'd think it would be hard to move this, right? But you can do it. It's like right now. It's light because it's on a really good gimbal. So all the pressure is going down and it's spinning on this thing. So I can use one finger to move it. Now this gets really hot. This is that lamp house unit that gets really hot. So when you're operating it, you would operate it from here. This is your direction. These are your gels, and these are all the ways in which you operate the iris or the shutters or the dowser. And then this is, you can look down into there, like a spyglass. You don't have to get close.
When we had projectors like this up at the BPH, there was one time when we had to change out the lamps, and one of them was not going to be shipped for whatever reason. And so David McCrae said, we have to take care of this. Do you have a piece of plywood? So we have a room there right behind the booth, which is a fan room, and it's basically, very contained sort of space. So David took the lamp, put it down on the floor, wrapped some stuff around it, not really, and then we put the plywood on the top of it, and then he hit that. And there was this boom noise inside that room, but the plywood kept the glass from coming up and killing us all. So, thanks, David. So for a while, I kept a piece of that glass, and also the tungsten anode or cathode. I don't know what it was, but it's the size of my thumb. And tungsten's really heavy. It's like gold, and it's like it's like, oh, here, really? Yeah, this sounds very fun. Anyway, so yeah, so this is the film projectors here, and they would be set up so that, like Ian was talking about, so you'd have 25 minutes of film on a reel, and then the other one, and then there'd be a changeover box in the middle. And on the film, there's a mark that shows up, and it's time to start the other projector, and it gets up to speed, takes it like 30 seconds or so, and then there's a second mark, and you hit that, and the projectors change from one to the other. And the other one now is lit up and actually showing the image on the screen. The films are made so that there's a scene where it's like somebody is riding their horse off towards the mountain, not a lot of dialogue, no dialogue in fact, and that gives you some time to get this changeover happening without interrupting the flow of the film. So that's all gone now.
It's all gone. It's all digital now.
There's no marks on the film anymore. So when you knew this, it ruined it for you. Because you'd be watching a movie and you see these marks that nobody else noticed, and it's like, oh, it's time for the changeover.
Well, and the film itself is disintegrating right now, so there's no good way in which they can store it without integrating. So it's slowly degrading.
But people tell me it's coming back. I mean, it just
Possibly.
The same way that people want vinyl. Now people say that they want to see it on film, and it's better for them than seeing it on video. It's like, well, you have better eyes than me or a different experience, but we want to see it that way. So,
Well, and the modern 35mm projectors aren't being swapped. So, like I was saying, there's these towers that you could do that can hold around 2.5 hours with the film, and the platter systems can hold up to 4 hours of film.
right. Platter system, I used to compare it to like an 8-track system, but nobody knows what that is anymore either. So.
I think I've seen one once.
Oh, there you go. Right. I saw one. I was at the DI store. It's like a Goodwill store, and I would go, what? And it was pristine. It was like a Pioneer deck, and I was like, this is where the 8-track goes, and it has the 4 little lights, so you know which one it is. I was like, how awesome! If only I had an 8-track tape. I can't believe this. So.
Yeah, but the platter is actually, the film is wound the opposite is taken from the center. So it's a huge platter. It's like 4.5, 5 feet wide. It's a huge circle, and then in the center is what they call the brain. So the film comes from the center into this brain, goes around a few sprockets, comes down and goes into the projector, then comes out of the projector up, and then starts winding itself backwards. So it's taking from the center and going out, and it's also and then it's winding the film from center out. So yeah,
And then it has to be
no, you don't have
It's
to,
ready to go.
No, because you have 3 platters. So you can in 3 platters, because that way you can have 2 films. Only 1 film can show at a time. But you can have 3 films, so one is going to this one, and then you have a second film on the unused one.
If you ever look in one of the projection booths while the system is going on, it looks like some kind of Mad Hatter's laboratory, because there's film that is like going around the room in order to get back onto these platters. And it's like, oh my God. There's a movie you should all see for any good reason. It's called Mr. Bean's Holiday. It's excellent. And there's a scene in there where they're in a projection booth that is running a platter system. So it's really fun that way. So. It's filled full of film projectors with snow and ice on them. And he says, does this answer your question?
Yeah. Well, and Miles still does ours.
Huh?
Miles did ours.
Wow. Larry actually took ours eventually. He took them home.
Oh, right.
He set them up in his living room.
Of course.
Because that's what
Larry.
That's what projections do.
Yeah.
So right, but yeah. So this is the lamp housing in here. Actually,
Is this a carbon arc? Oh my God. I've never seen one of those. So carbon arc, if you've ever seen that kind of welding where the guys are going and that's a super bright light that you can't look at, that's used or was used in follow spots and projectors to provide that light to make that stuff go out there. So I was called once down to a show down at the old arena, and it was a last minute deal and it was a follow spot thing, and I went down there and Mr. Payne was the steward on that one. You know how to run carbon arc? It's like, no, I had a class for an hour about how to do it, but I can't really. And he goes off because, of course, we should all know how to do everything when you're running carbon spots. Are these spots carbon arc? No, but you need to know how to do this. Oh God. So anyway, but yeah. So these are older projectors, and we have a graveyard of them in another room.